Thought we'd do something a little different today, and first thing on the agenda is to clean off this palette a little. It's been getting kind of built up recently, and well, I suppose there's no time like now to scrape some of this off. Every so often you gotta clear this palette off. I use a tiny palette a lot of the time when I'm painting the pictures on here, just because, well, you don't spend a lot of time recording them, so by the time you've filled up all the palette full of color and all that, well, it's about time to stop recording for the day. This is supposed to be a non-stick palette. I guess it's working pretty okay. I've had this for a while. I haven't used it super often until I started making these videos. This is a lot different from what we've been doing recently. I've been talking a lot recently in my videos. I don't know why. I guess maybe I felt like I didn't have a lot to say. But I felt like maybe it was time to try something different. I feel like I'm trying a lot of different things these days. Some good, some I have no idea. But hopefully it'll all work out. And that paint was a little bit wet, so we'll call that an occupational hazard. It's nice to peel some of this off. I've been using a lot of just very basic red, blue, and yellow recently, even though I use a lot more colors than that typically. But when in doubt, you really can't go wrong with a red, a blue, and a yellow. It's pretty hard to screw things up when that's all you're using. The buildup on this palette sometimes can make it hard to work, but that's why we're cleaning it off a little now. Removing some dried spaces, removing some hard films. You can never really get a palette 100% of the way clean. Try. I've been wondering about my art a lot recently. Haven't spent a lot of time thinking about my art over the past, I don't know, few years or so. God, you say that out loud and it's a sad thing to think about. Walking away from art. Just saying it aloud. I guess it makes you feel sad. What other words there to describe it? But sad. I think that'll about do it. Feels like I'm scraping breakfast out of a plate or something. Food into the garbage disposal. I guess in a sense I am. It's a visual, isn't it? Well, for me at least, I guess this is the food of life. Painting, art, and all the difficulties that go along with it. I've been using a lot of this Permable white that I have left over. I got a lot of Permable colors from back when this line was still a thing. It's been discontinued for the most part. The only thing that's left now is the white and the black. I guess those are the most popular colors that they had, I don't know. They used to have a full line of colors, but of just went away a couple of years ago. Well, I guess now it's been quite a while ago. God, these colors I'm handling, they kind of feel like antiques. Like I'm handling relics of the past. I don't know if you've ever handled paint like that, where they don't make it anymore, right? So it feels like you're handling something that belongs in a museum instead of something that you should be painting with. Sometimes I feel like I'm handling that whenever I'm just holding a color in my hand that's been discontinued for years and years. And that's what this is. They don't make this anymore. I've been kind of stuck on this brickwork over here in this background for a little bit. Been trying to figure out the best way to handle it, and I think I have a few ideas. I think I'm gonna probably try some cadmium cadmium red for the first time here, and God, I don't think I've used any cadmium red on this painting so far. So this is going to be kind of an adventure. Let's add a little bit of white to that. Just a smidge of white, not too much. Just to give it a little bit of life. There's something about adding white to a color that just gives it a little bit of body. And I like that. I think I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium yellow deep to it too, because it just needs a little bit more orange to it. There's a surprising amount of orange in this painting. I've been taken aback by how much orange there really is when you just look at things. That's a good way of talking about painting, really. It's just looking at things and noticing things. The more you look, the more you tend to notice subtle differences in light and shadow, the way people and things look. I think I'm starting to get a little bit toward the color that I'm looking for already. This surprisingly, I don't even know if I want to call it, well, it's not neon, but it's kind of a very fleshy pink orange. That really narrows it down, doesn't it? I want to try out this brush that I came across. I don't think this is going to be particularly... I don't think this is going to be a particularly good brush. But I'm going to put it to work anyway. We're going to see how things go. Okay, here we go. Let's start right about, I don't know, right there. And we'll go to about here. Oh, this actually brushes on very nicely. I'm not surprised by that. It's nice. Oh yeah. Alright, well maybe maybe my doubts were unfounded. Well, sometimes tools surprise you guys. Those soft hairs. Sometimes they really come through. Alright, let's just see how the rest of this goes. I overbrushed there. Oh man. Honestly, I'm overbrushing everywhere, I think. I think I need to just create a little bit more space in between all these bricks. It's okay. A lot of what we're going to do is going to involve, like, overpainting things anyway. Let's bring this brick over to about here. Okay. This seems a little vibrant, and it is a little bit vibrant. But I think we'll tone it down with a few colors in a little bit. I'm going to try kind of a pointless technique, I think. I've been wanting to do a little bit more of a pointless technique where I've been, well, with a pointless technique, what you do is you have a sort of base color, or at least that's how I do it. You have a base color, and then you go in with a bunch of colors of that vary, I guess is what you like, pinks and purples on top of what you've already done, And you have this color that's glowing, and then sometimes some earth colors too, just to adjust the color and make it look more fantastic or natural or whatever you're really going for. Me, I'm gonna be honest, guys. Like sometimes when I'm painting these days, I don't know what I'm going for anymore. For a while, I think I knew what I was going for. Now, I guess I feel like I've lost my way, artistically at least. Yeah, it's sad to think about, isn't it? Maybe a little bit, but it's the honest truth. I feel like I've lost my way. There's a lot of things happening in life that make you feel that way, make me feel that way. And it's hard to talk about, I guess, because I don't really open up to people like that, not easily. But sometimes I feel like I'm spiraling. Maybe that's why I'm painting again. To take control of life. I spent a lot of time doing other things besides art, and I guess I've been wondering to myself, I don't know, has that been the best decision? Is that what I should have done? Life is full of woulda, shoulda, couldas, Yeah, you can second guess yourself a lot, but I guess all you can really do is, if you feel that way, see what you can do and make the best of it going forward. I tell that to people a lot. Try to give them advice like that, but sometimes you have trouble taking your own advice. Yeah, that's the truth right there. Hey, it sounds like good advice until you have to take it yourself. Yeah, this is brushing on real smooth. There's like a top layer of brick here that I really need to focus on getting. I'm really shortchanging the brick up here. Yeah, it's right in there. I feel like I've done a lousy job painting these bricks. I need to take it easy on myself, I think. Like I know I guess we could wipe it out maybe. Nah, I don't think we'll wipe it out. I think we'll just adjust it as we go. That's the best call, I think. Because we're already like this far in. Okay. I gotta say, these colors feel like they're a bit much. Like, I don't know, these neon bricks like this. Oh man. It feels a little garish. It's okay. I just want to try it out. See what it looks like, see how it feels. Let's mix ourselves up. Well, I guess before we get ahead of ourselves, I'm going to clean off this brush. Excuse me, clean off my knife a little bit. Because it is getting a little dirty. It's a little dirty and we need to do something with it. Okay. Need to make sure this brush gets clean too. This nice soft brush. I don't want it to get all hardened and ruined and everything. Alright, let's focus for a second and get ourselves a little purple. I think I want a little bit of my alizarin crimson here. Okay. And then let's take, I think a little ultramarine on that. I'm trying to decide whether to use ultramarine or Prussian blue, but I think I'm going to side with ultramarine on this one. And let's add just a little bit more ultramarine on that. And I think we got ourselves a pretty okay purple here. We'll check it in a second. This is pretty okay. Sometimes it's hard to decide if this is good enough or not. Maybe just a smidge more white on this. There. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Let's see what this looks like. Just going down in here. Yeah. Color will surprise you. Yes, it will. Surprises me constantly. A lot of shadow colors tend to be very violet. I'm using a flat brush here. I feel like I should be using a round or something. I don't know. This is way... That top color needs to be a little bit darker, but we'll put something in a little bit, I think. Okay. Let's go down to about yay height. Stick that in. Then we'll stick this in over here. Just like... Okay. Just kind of... Getting a little bit of this cadmium color into the violet that I'm mixing up. That's alright. My proportions on these bricks is a little jacked up. But still, kind of like the color that I'm fooling around with at the moment. I feel like I'm going to use some burnt sienna on this before too long, which wouldn't surprise me in the least. Nah, it'll be alright. If I do, and it's gonna be because that's what the painting needed. And I think you have to tell yourself a lot. Excuse me, you have to tell yourself that a lot when you're painting. If you decide you have to do something, even if it feels like things are going to get ruined, then it's probably because it's what the painting needed. You can't let yourself get too hung up on, oh, I'm going to mess this up, I'm going to mess that up. Well, if something doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right for a reason. Even if someone tells you, oh, don't do that, you're going to mess it up. Well, it's your painting, you can mess it up if you want, right? Yeah. You should mess it up as much as you want. It's your painting. Who's anyone else to tell you what's what, right? I imagine an art instructor would probably have a few words to say about that, but I don't know. Art instructors are helpful, but in the end, art is a very solitary thing. It's one of those things that you just really have to apply yourself to. No one's going to do it for you, right? It's one of those, no one's going to do it for you. I probably don't want to marry myself to too many details right now, do I? No, probably not. Because in the end, we're going to wind up inserting a few highlights between the bricks. As a matter of fact, we might want to think about that pretty soon here. I think I'm going to go for something, I don't know. I think I'm going to go for I think I'm going to go for kind of a teal color on this. Yeah, that might make it really pop actually, because the color is very orangey right now, and I think it might look pretty interesting. So I'll tell you what, let's get out. God, we really don't use this color much, but let's get out Viridian. Viridian. Oh god. Maybe we'll get out Viridian, and maybe we'll mix up kind of a very dull blue-green color that we can put in between there, like maybe something like we did over in here. It might be cool to do. I don't use much Viridian. Viridian's kind of an expensive color, and it doesn't really, well, it's not really a high tinting color either. That means tinting strength when you mix it with other colors, how much it affects other colors, and it really doesn't do much. No, not really. It's one of those colors where you really have to just kind of use it judiciously most of the time by itself. It used to be a really popular color way back when, but most people just use phthalo green anymore for good reason. Because it's way more practical, honestly. Yeah. I mean, in the end, it doesn't make a lot of sense to use Viridian unless you're just a guy like me who very specifically wants to use that color. Because Viridian is a greenish blue. It's right here on my palette knife. It's a greenish blue that you can get a pretty similar color using phthalo green. And you're probably sitting there going, well, why don't you just use phthalo green then? Well, phthalo green's a little bit more intense. I don't want necessarily an intense blue-green. I want more of a muted blue-green. Alright, let's see how this color kind of pulls off my... Actually, let's just edge in this color right here. Start simple. Okay. Start simple. Start there, and then right about right here. Yeah, right about right there. I think we'll just... Okay. I think I'm going to wind up getting a lot of red in this color, just like I did last time. Okay, here we go. Alright, that's not so bad. Nah, that's not that bad. That's pretty decent. That could be a lot worse. Alright, and then right about here. I think I might have overdone it there. Yeah, whatever. So it's a little overdone. Space it just so. Okay. And that's about the division I think I'm looking for here. Yeah, that's pretty okay. Like I say, I'm probably going to get a lot of this red color into my Viridian, but at least we got ourselves a jumping off point. At least it feels like we're starting to really get some interesting things happening. Of course, we probably want to make sure that we're not too off base in between here. Alright. That's going right about there. So let's bring this over here. Okay. Whoever thought we'd get so excited about brickwork? Well, I imagine there's a mason out there that's positively thrilled by what we're doing right now. Right about here. Okay. Yeah, right about there. Okay. Alright, once more. Right about here. And then, if I seem a little quiet, it's because I'm just trying to focus here and there. Also, this is a little bit of a different vibe than how it's been when I've been painting recently and during these videos, where I've been so quiet. Well, like I say, sometimes you just need to sit back and process things. Life's been odd recently. I hope, I don't know, I hope it stops feeling so odd. But I kind of hope that maybe we can get some fresh beginnings. You and I. Because maybe I've taken everyone for granted. I sometimes wonder to myself. Or maybe this isn't what I should be doing. Not just painting, but more of a reference to a lot of different things. A lot of thoughts like that go through your head. Self-doubts. Well, everybody has them. Best to not let yourself get defeated by them. No, that wouldn't be any good. Okay. Well, this is actually kind of an interesting look to the masonry so far. It looks a little bit... It's not finished. But we've got some interesting juxtapositions of colors going on here, and it's because of the juxtaposition of the viridian against the cadmium red light that we have going on, and it's just creating some very interesting vibration between those colors. I think that we want to maybe dull it down slightly, but still, like the colors just so... It's just... Well, what's happening here? What's happening here is that we have ourselves a couple of visual complements. A blue-green and a red-orange. That's what a visual complement is. And anytime you get a visual complement against themselves, it starts to make the colors vibrate. I guess I feel like we're using the word vibrate a lot, but that's Is that the word of the day? I suppose. Yeah, maybe it is. But that's the word that feels right. Vibrate. Okay. I think I'm going to get a little burnt sienna just to give this a little something. Oh boy, I'm getting burnt sienna all over my fingers. Yeah. It's hard to do this without getting paint all over yourself. You can paint without getting paint all over yourself. Boy, you got talent, I'll tell you. Let's add a little bit of white to that burnt sienna. Not too much, but just a little bit. How are we doing over here? Just make sure we got the right tone here. We don't want to go too overboard. That's probably about good. Always feel like I'm eyeballing colors. It's probably because you are. Let's not talk to ourselves. Okay. Let's try just throwing something down here. I don't know. Yeah. There. That's already looking pretty good. Now let's just try to throw in some burnt sienna along the way down there. We don't want to get too even with the way we're putting this on, so we might want to use the corner of our brush and just, I don't know, like just kind of tap it in. That might be the best way to do things, just to use that burnt sienna and make a shadow underneath where things are. We'll use a little bit of purple too, I think, because that'll make it more interesting. Wait, we can get some Prussian blue in here. That's an idea. Now, when we tap that in, you see, like, just how that becomes more and more just kind of textured. It's just one of those different ways to create textures, and one thing you can do is create colors of the same value and put them into your painting to make the painting look more vibrant. But you don't want to apply colors too haphazardly. You just want to go for a vibe. Like I might get some sap green and start maybe a little bit of yellow on that sap green and start putting some things in. Okay. This is already starting to look more and more like brickwork. This is feeling really good. Yeah. I think getting burnt sienna out was the right choice. I'm not done quite yet. Not quite yet. We're having too much fun now, I think. Whoever thought that bricks and fun would go in the same sentence. Yeah, you'll find out some strange things about yourself when you're painting. You'll learn a lot by the process of making art. That's why I tell everyone, you should give it a try. Of course, it's not for everyone. If it was for everyone, well, I guess life would be pretty dull. Everyone could certainly try it, but not everyone's going to love making art. I found that out a little while ago when I was trying to get an ex of mine to write some fan fiction, and she didn't really have any fun doing it. She just said it felt like it was a job, which I think that might just be because of the way that they were running things on the website, but I think more she just didn't enjoy the act of doing it. I've always enjoyed the arts. I've always enjoyed. I enjoy writing, but I mostly do it for myself if I ever do it. I don't really go out of my way to make videos about it or anything. It's important to have things that are just for you, I think. Not everything needs to be content. God, it feels like such a dirty word, doesn't it? Content. I don't know. Don't take it the wrong way. It just feels like the term has become so profane, where you're just boiling down everything you do to content. Making it sound scary, aren't I? You look at your YouTube tab, your home tab, and it calls all your videos content. You look at what people are providing on streaming services, and they call it content, and you know they don't mean anything by it, right? But still, you get that vibe, and you think to yourself, something about this feels off. I think a lot of filmmakers have kind of commented on that in recent memory, where they've said they feel like their work is a little bit marginalized by being just filed away as content. It's been tragic for films. Absolutely tragic for films, because people work very hard to make these movies that we love watching, and I love watching movies, which is why I try and respect the film as much as I can. Of course, some films are pretty hard to respect. If you ever watch a bad film, you know what I'm talking about. You can only respect a god-awful movie so much. But still, you don't want to tear into it too hard sometimes. Because people, they did spend a lot of time making it. They worked hard on it. What am I saying? It's fun to tear into bad movies. I'm trying to have it both ways. I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too. It's one of those days, guys. We are definitely going to go back in here with a little bit of purple. Around the same shade, I think. And we're going to just do it. Add a little bit more texture with that color. But I think between the burnt sienna and the Viridian looks kind of gray here, I think. I think I want to definitely add an ultramarine and cadmium yellow mix, because I feel like that's going to really put this over the top. And then a little bit of sap green on that. Yeah, that's what we're going to go for. A lot of interesting things happening. Okay. I have to say, this feels a little bit more like brick than it did, thankfully. It wasn't looking too much like brick for a while there, but it's feeling a lot better than it was. Let's do a little something, I think. Well, are we done yet? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Well, I'll add a little over here. I feel like maybe I'm getting close to being done with that. God, that brick looks so uneven. Well, it's supposed to look uneven. But yeah, it does look pretty uneven. I wonder how this is going to look once we have it exactly the way we want. I don't know. But I'm interested to find out. We should maybe clean off the knife. I've been thinking to myself that I might need to go on a diet soon. I feel like I've gained a lot of weight. And it's probably because I've been, I guess you could say, eating my feelings a little bit. Yeah. That's a tough thing to say out loud. Hey guys, I've been eating my feelings. Well, yeah, it's true. I have been a little bit. I've just had a tough time of it for a little while, I think. Things aren't... I think it's just time for some changes. I think that's the best way to put it. I think it's just time for some changes. There's nothing to do but to do it. Okay. I think we got ourselves a nice color here. It's a little dark though. I kind of accidentally whipped up a little bit more than I thought I'd need, which honestly is not the worst thing in the world to do when you're painting. You almost always want to do that. Always mix up a little bit more than you think you need. Sounds like something that my painting professors would tell me. Alright, I think we got somewhere in the ballpark of what we're looking for now. Yeah, that's pretty much the same tone right there, or the same value. Which is what we wanted anyway. Yeah, we don't want it to be absolutely perfect. We do want this to be a little bit interesting. Okay. Yeah. So this is the ultramarine and cadmium mix that I was mentioning. It is not quite the same color as Viridian, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because Viridian is a little bit brighter of a color. Okay, here we go. Let's try a little bit of this. I don't know if this is... Well, it's not as buttery of a color. It's not going to be. This is a much grayer color, I think. It's a very lively mix. Considering what colors we have in here. I might need to pop in a couple of, maybe a little bit of red in there or something at some point. Maybe a little bit of violet into all that. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it might need a little bit of violet. This is feeling pretty decent, I think. Alright, one more color I think we're going to toss into that brickwork for right now. For right now, at least. I need my Prussian blue. God. I know I have some Prussian blue around here someplace. There it is. Just had to dig for it a little bit. Prussian blue is a very fast-drying color, so I don't use a lot of it. Prussian blue is one of those colors that's very, very easy to overdo. So you gotta be careful. But in a pinch, it'll do quite nicely. Just a little dab will do you whenever you want to do anything with it. You can tell I've already got a color that's pretty dark based on that. Here's what we'll do. We'll add just a little smidge of that cadmium to it to brighten it up. Cadmium red and Prussian blue. Boy, those colors really, they know how to dance together. We'll just say that. Okay. And then we'll add a little bit of white to that mix. White gives it the body it needs. White makes it interesting, I think. And then we'll add just a little bit more yellow too. A little bit more yellow to our mix. I used the Prussian blue to dull it down slightly because it was getting a little bit, things were getting a little bit too bright with that cadmium color. That cadmium red and that cadmium orange with just the white. See how lively it became? Now I'm debating whether or not I want to do this, but I think we're going to roll with it because this is a very handsome color we have whipped up now. Okay, and this juxtaposed against the burnt sienna will look very, very cool. I think the value doesn't have to be exactly the same, but close-ish, I think, is what we're going for here. Just an interesting series of relationships, complex color relationships. So everywhere where we see that bright, vibrant red, I think we're going to put this in just like that. Okay. Here we are. I don't know if I'd say it's looking natural, but we're not necessarily looking for natural, we're just looking for a little change of tone. We don't want this to be the draw of the painting necessarily. Muted colors make your bright colors more interesting, I think. We still need to add something more. I think we might need to add something more of a gray into all this. Also some more yellowish colors. Because it's going to look a little, I don't know, something's going to look incomplete if we don't. Still a little bit more up here, I think. A little bit more. Okay. There it goes. Let's take some of that excess color off the brush. It's a very tiny brush, holding a surprising amount of paint in the bristles. And let's take all this color we whipped up and blend it into our neutral mix, my friends. So that way, hopefully later, we'll be able to use it for something else. It'll make a good base for a dark color, I think. There. I think one of the reasons I don't use phthalo green so much is because my neutral mix, if I did use phthalo green, would be mostly green. And if you do use phthalo green and you happen to make a neutral mix, well, you probably know already. If you don't, well, you will be surprised. And really, a neutral mix that's more violet is a little bit more useful than a neutral mix that just starts out green. It's much easier to paint with a violet base than it is a green base, I think. Okay, and I think we're just about ready for our next paint session. Now we'll see how fast the Prussian blue dries this entire mix. Oh, it might dry pretty fast.